What's happening, everyone? JayShockblast here, and check it out. The new blog from Marvel's Avengers should be live at this moment in time, explaining some of the things coming with patch 2.5. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to listen in on a phone call with Crystal Dynamics' Brian Waggoner as he talked about some of the things coming with Jane Foster and some stuff that's coming post 2.5. And it was very interesting, and I believe all of this should be in the blog. Being careful, I don't think they told us anything that was too far out. But let's get right into it, okay? If you don't know who Jane Foster is, she is the ex-girlfriend of Thor, who at some point in time became worthy and was able to lift Mjolnir, and people weirdly called her Thor and not her own name. She's currently a Valkyrie and is much better as a Valkyrie. And yeah, that's a long story that I don't really feel like getting into. What I do want to get into is that she is coming to Marvel's Avengers before the end of June. Now, they're not giving us an exact release date yet because anything can happen. And if you haven't figured out in the 644 days of Marvel's Avengers that things do tend to happen, then, you know, that's on you. All right. So tentatively, I would imagine it's going to be the 23rd or the 30th of June, and we will be able to play Jane Foster before you know it. So that's what we're looking at. All right, she sounds like she's gonna be really cool. She's gonna come with her own challenge card and her own mission chain. It's gonna be similar to Spider-Man, but without the cinematics in between. It will give access to intel files. There will be some cosmetics you can earn. Her iconic outfit just comes with Jane. There is no iconic chain. If we're being honest, they're probably gonna be some outfits that they basically created just for Jane Foster, because she has not had many looks when she has had the power of Thor throughout time. I do hope they have her Valkyrie style outfit, which isn't that far off from her Thor outfit, but still it's different enough. And again, they are kind of dipping into the Valkyrie aspect of her, which I think is fantastic, because I do think as a Valkyrie, she is amazing. Okay, so she's going to come with new abilities. There's a new Overcharge called God Tempest, and there's a new Intrinsic called All Mother's Blessing. So she works a little bit differently than Thor, but there are some things that are kind of shared. Her new ultimate ability is called the All Weapon, which is Undrajarn, which is the weapon that she currently uses as a Valkyrie. And it's part of the reason that's going to explain why there are different Mjolnirs. Now, I know that might have leaked last week, and I personally have to be careful when I talk about leaks, but, you know, Miller did show something at one point, so shout outs to him for getting information, you know what I mean? And that's confirmed. Undrajarn, I hope I'm saying it right, is a weapon that she will be using in some capacity. It may only be in her ultimate, and you definitely might want to look up a little bit more information about that weapon. She will not share gear with Thor, but will have similar perks. So they're not just doing a one-for-one, like send this gear over from Thor to Jane. This is, you know, new gear for Jane Foster, even though some of it will be a little bit, you know, similar. She will share some takedowns. They did not go into the specifics of how that will work. They're still working on the distribution process, but it does seem clear that some of them can be earned and some of them will be paid. So it remains to be seen how that goes. There might have been a couple other things they mentioned about Jane Foster, and you can certainly read about in the blog. But the one thing that sounds very clear is this is definitely going to be a lot like, you know, Clint versus Kate, where they're very similar characters. They're both Hawkeyes, but they both play very different. And Jane is just going to play differently than Thor, which, by the way, I can't call him anything else because his name is literally Thor. So there's that. Now, one of the other cool things they talked about a little bit is what's coming after 2.5, where we're going to start getting back into the narrative. So, according to my notes, they're ramping up the narrative story, what happens after Wakanda, and what happened to AIM. They're working on 2 pieces of playable content right now. Warzone like Cosmic Cube area, not endgame content but challenging for players. Talks about what Monica has been up to in the last several months since the Claw raid, new Monica fight, and cloning labs. Okay, tells an important part of the AIM storyline and why there are so many Taskmasters and Abominations. It's not as long as the Claw raid, but they are calling it an Omega level threat. So the new villain at the end of Cloning Labs is going to be MODOK, and it's being built from the ground up. So I actually, let me take that back. Okay, I'm reading my notes, and MODOK is going to get a boss battle, and I don't remember if it is actually at the end of Cloning Labs or if it's his own thing, but Cloning Labs is not what it was. Okay, the campaign fight for MODOK was built as a single player campaign. It's tied to the environment, and it's tied to specific heroes and parts of it. So a single player fight versus a multiplayer fight are not the same, and I think that's why we haven't seen Crossbones, and that's why we haven't seen MODOK to this point. So they had to build it sort of from the ground up. There is going to be a power level increase coming. I do not believe they told us what it is going to go to, but it will require power 175 to do the Cloning Labs. There is one new gear set per hero from Cloning Labs. No longer doing single player intros for new characters like Clint and Kate. So basically, when we got Clint and Kate, there was a single player storyline you had to go through. Now they're trying to incorporate everything into multiplayer and to be able to go through the process that way. And they're trying to tie in new heroes to the story and why they are there. So when Jane Foster gets introduced, we want to know why she's there, where she's been, what's going on. Same thing with whoever goes after Jane Foster, which allegedly is possibly She-Hulk. They did not tell us that during this thing, and it's not in the blog that it's She-Hulk. I am purely speculating. I need to be clear about that. No one has ever told me She-Hulk. I'm just going based off the speculation, okay? So I want to be clear about that. So what I gathered from their talk about Omega level threat or Cloning Labs in general is Cloning Labs was intended to come out way back in the day. Okay, it was something they were working out on when the game came out, and as time progressed and as they weren't able to really work it into what the game was now, they just were stuck in a place where they had a piece of content that was sort of made, that was sort of ready, but all of the player base has pretty much gone far beyond. So they've decided to kind of rework it, and try to make it more challenging and try to make it something that players that are still playing the game are going to want to play, as much as they can, so they're doing the best they can with what they have. One thing I want to point out, okay, we talk about a lot, or people talk a lot about how, imagine having the Marvel Avengers franchise and only doing Taskmaster and Abomination. And I gather that that's not what was intended. That's not what they wanted. And I also gather the people that are currently working on the game now are mostly not the people that built the game. All right. So I just wish, I know they haven't necessarily earned the benefit of the doubt, like they generally being Crystal Dynamics, but if you peek behind the curtain a little bit, you're going to see a group of people that are very passionate about this game and are really doing what they can to make it better, especially considering they didn't make all of it. So it's not just a matter of, doing new things and putting it into the game. It's a matter of figuring out how the game works and how to make what they want to do work with it. So it's a big challenge, and it shouldn't be, but it is, all right? And the only other alternative at this point is that they just go make another game and start over. And I don't think anybody wants that. I think everybody wants to kind of keep going with what they've already done, what they already have. And it's not, you can't just change the engine. Like, this is a big undertaking, and they're trying to put out what they can with what they have. And I hope that this is the start of some good things. I'm hoping that the lack of content in between, like other games have done, has been them just collecting their thoughts and collecting all the things that they can do. And now we're about to get to the part where it starts to come out. And I think Jane Foster is a good start. I'm obviously a big Thor fan. I'm not a big Jane Foster as Thor fan. Just because like they just could have made her own person and not literally just like I never thought that Mjolnir would also carry Thor's name and personality, you know? Like everybody else that had Mjolnir became Thunderstrike or Throg or something to that nature, right? But like it just felt like they just said, oh, you're Thor now. Hey, we get to go announce it on The View. So everybody look at us. We've got girl Thor, big muscles, girl power. And I don't have a problem with there being powerful female characters. I just have always felt like they handled Jane Foster wrong. And when they transitioned her into a Valkyrie, they started to do everything right. But anyway, that's what we have. I think she's going to be a lot of fun to play. I know it will never be enough for some people. All right. And for those people, it's been 644 days. You should know what this game is now. You're still around. The common denominator is you, not them. They're doing what they can with what they have. I'm not like trying to like give them excuses. There's been a lot of things they could have done better, but if you want to still play this game, this is where we're at. So anyway, the blog should be in the description. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will definitely come back to playing this a lot more once Jane Foster is here. And for now, I'm just going to pop in here and there just to kind of keep my chops up. Anyway, we'll see it.